Hey, what's up? My name is Rob, and I am the author of Maschine, the hip-hop beatmaker's missing manual, which is the #1 resource in the world for machine producers that are looking to learn how to make release-ready beats on their machine. Alright, and today I want to talk about a topic that has been on my mind for the last few weeks. Digital clipping, otherwise known as digital distortion, is one of the most common problems that I see in my students' machine projects. Basically what digital clipping is about is that's when your master output on machine is constantly within the red zone. You know, their master output is so red, it's like damn near bleeding. So I thought that you probably had run into issues with digital clipping on Maschine, because I know that this was a huge problem for me, you know, back when I was first starting out on Maschine. Basically, digital clipping occurs when too much volume is trying to pass through the master channel. It's being overloaded, alright? So Maschine warns you and shows you that redness inside your master output. So what is digital clipping? Just to give you a little bit more in depth. I don't want to get too technical with it because honestly I don't even understand the nuances, you know, behind the computer technology and digital audio, but basically it's like too much volume is trying to pass through and the audio signal is overloading and overwhelming the amount that can fit through the master output. And the issue is that if your master volume is constantly in the red, eventually you're going to start to hear issues with subtle changes in the tone of your machine project, meaning your sounds are going to change, and in most cases it's not necessarily going to sound good. You know, and if the tone starts to change, this is an issue that you need to learn how to address. And that's what I'm going to cover today. I'm going to jump on over to Maschine and show you a really simple two-step process to eliminate digital clipping in every one of your machine projects in the future so that this is no longer a problem for you, okay? So let's jump on over to Maschine and I'll show you exactly how to do it. Alright, so as I told you, there's a very simple, let's just say two-part solution to making sure that digital distortion or digital clipping is no longer a problem in your machine projects. First, I should probably start off by showing you exactly what digital distortion is so that you can get a reference point of what I'm talking about, just to make sure we're on the same page. Alright, so I want you to watch up here. So as you can see, the volume levels are just way out of control, especially with that kick drum. It's totally overwhelming the entire mix, and because of that, we see this clipping up here in the red. And just because the volume levels are so loud, Maschine starts to distort the overall audio signal, and it's not the true, it's not representing the true potential of the sounds that you're working with if you are constantly clipping it up there in the red, alright? So let's go ahead and get started with this two-part solution. It's very simple and very easy. It's going to damn near blow your mind, considering that you've probably been doing things the wrong way for a very long time, and the simple solution to do things the right way is it's so easy, alright? The very first thing that I do when I'm starting a project is to sort of give you an understanding of what I like to do in the workflow and the strategy that I like to outline every single time I make a beat. I won't have all this stuff typically before I do this first step. The first step is to, let me pause for a second. The first step is to throw light compression on your master channel, okay? So jump on over to the master channel, throw a light compressor on there. But it's important that you do this in the beginning of your project. It's because this is a technique that's called mixing into compression. Okay, and that basically means that on your master channel, you're going to want to throw on a very light compression before you start to throw on a whole bunch of different tracks within your beat. And what this is going to do is it's going to set sort of a sort of permeable wall, if you will, on this top end to prevent that redlining and that digital clipping from happening within your projects. Okay, so typically I'll just start with let's say a kick and a snare drum pattern. I might have this working, and I might see that it's distorting. So let me give you an example of how this workflow would work typically in an organic fashion. So as you can see, the clipping's still a problem. I'll come up with a kick and snare drum pattern, and then I'll throw on a compressor on the master chain, and I'll show you what that looks like. All right, I'm gonna destroy this one. Or I'm just going to disable this one just in case I can get the settings, not able to get the settings right during this demonstration. But the overall point of throwing a compressor on the master channel and doing this technique called mixing into compression is to only lightly compress your entire project, okay? So this is the master channel, meaning that every single element within your beat is going to be compressed. This compressor is going to go to work on your sounds and make sure that nothing is too overwhelming in your tracks. It's going to make the loudest sounds a little bit softer and the softest sounds a little bit louder and sort of glue everything together in your mix, okay? This is the overall point. You don't want things to be too heavy, all right? So what we're going to do is we're going to set the threshold here. We're going to drastically reduce the amount, and then we're going to play with the attack and the release settings and everything else just to make sure that it's light, all right? So I'm going to go ahead and listen for the changes that I want to make. Let's go ahead and do that. So you notice it's that simple, okay? We figured out a threshold, we reduced the amount drastically, I played with the attack and the release. And this is basically it. You want the amount very low, you want the threshold set to a medium range, maybe like a third of the way there, and it's already solved the digital distortion problem. Okay, so now we can add on the rest of these elements. And that moves us to the next step, all right? So everything should be well within our range, okay? We should not be peaking anymore. There should be no digital clipping. Okay, so that's basically the beat. But we want to make sure now, moving on to the second step, we want to make sure that after we've thrown on this light compression onto the master channel, we want to make sure that every sound that we add on subsequently is properly balanced, okay? So I'll typically, like I said, throw on the kick and the snare first. None of these other sounds will be there. But as I'm introducing other sounds, I want to jump on over to the mix module in Maschine, hit the sound level so I can see the individual sounds, and I want to adjust the overall output of these sounds to make sure that we're not really hitting up against this wall of the compressor, to make sure that we get the balance correct. Because throwing on compression can sort of alter the overall volume levels of all your sounds, okay? So if you throw on a compressor after the fact, after you've already, sort of balanced your mix by, adding some EQ and panning everything and adjusting the volume levels and maybe a light compression on the individual sound level, throwing on a compressor on the master chain after that is going to cause some chaos within your mix. So it's best to sort of mix things as you go along. And I'm going to give you an example of that, how we'd adjust the volume levels to make sure everything is all copacetic. Okay, that's just the basics, okay? So just to break down this two-step process, the first thing that we did was threw on the master compressor. We made it very, very light so that it's only slightly touching all of our sounds. We don't want too much heavy compression on the master channel. We only wanted to control the clipping that's going on in the top end. And then we introduced every other sound afterwards, as I showed you, and sort of jumped into the mixing module and adjusted the individual volume levels so that they didn't sort of peak and distort what's already going on, so that they're well balanced within the mix, okay? You saw that it's very, very simple, you guys. Two steps: master channel compressor, make it very light, adjust make sure the amount is low and the threshold is set correctly. The attack and the release can remain around these settings, and then sort of adding and introducing everything after that, guys. It's very, very simple to eliminate that problem of peak distortion, okay? And that's pretty much it. I want you to remember, though, that there are no hard and fast rules in music. This is only a recommendation, okay? So you don't necessarily have to do things this way. Just remember, the only rule is make sure in the end that it sounds good, okay? So I want to also, before you go, give you the opportunity to sort of learn more about concepts like this so that you can take your knowledge and your skills on Maschine to the next level and learn the skills that you need to make release-ready mixes on Maschine. As you saw in this demonstration, it's so easy. There's so many different techniques that I can teach you in order to take your sound to the next level on Maschine. Okay? I know that you could be doing more on Maschine. It's a mouthful. There's more out there that you know that you should be learning, and more techniques, more strategies that you could learn to get better at Maschine and better at producing and better at mixing. And at this point, you're probably trying to spend way too much time on YouTube trying to figure out what to do on Maschine, watching videos like this, than you actually are making beats. But what if there was a solution for you so that you could sit down and absorb the information like this that you needed to know very quickly so that you could get up and running on Maschine at twice or 3 times the speed as it takes most people who just search around on YouTube for the answers, okay? Well, I've got a really simple way for you to master Maschine's creative workflow so that you can really get your creative juices flowing, and so that you can make better sounding beats that sound more professional much quicker. All right, I need you to click below in the link. There's a link in the description so that you can claim a copy of my book. It's called Maschine, the Hip Hop Beatmaker's Missing Manual. And inside this guide, let me go ahead and throw one up for you. I'm going to show you what this looks like. So what makes this what makes this book so great is the depth that I go into inside this book. So you just learned about master channel compression, but there's entire sections within this book. I've got over, let's say, like probably about 40 pages specifically covering the elements of how to use Maschine stock effects to make release-ready beats on your Maschine, okay? So that you can make release-ready music that's ready to be released to SoundCloud and YouTube and iTunes and Spotify and be sent to artists who have discerning ears about how great music should sound. I'm going to teach you how to do that using the Maschine stock effects so that you can understand how to use an equalizer in creative ways in your music, so that you can understand how to use, let's say, audio delay in your beats and other elements, okay? There's an entire section devoted to learning strategies about mixing on Maschine, all right? We've got over 40 pages of in-depth content on that, and that's not even to mention the concepts I've covered, like sampling on Maschine, how to choose great samples on Maschine from YouTube, how to master Maschine's creative workflow, you know, diving in deep into the workflow on Maschine. So I've got everything covered inside of this book, and I want to let you know that I am not going to fail you. I'm hooking you up with an extreme deal on this, just as a promotion, because I'm really trying to make my name in this Maschine community, and I found that in order to do that, I need to get this book into the hands of as many people as possible. So I'm hooking you up with the deal today, okay? I've got a special deal going on today where you can get your copy of this book for just $1. $1. No catch, no games, no bullshit. I am literally giving this book for you for $1. There's no bag of tricks behind this, okay? This sale, though, is going to be over soon, so I want you to take action on this right now. Otherwise, the price is going to raise soon, and you're going to have to pay the full $47 retail price for this book. So hurry up, click the link below in the description, claim your copy of this book now, all right? I appreciate you watching this video. My name is Rob, the author of the Hip Hop Beatmaker's Missing Manual, Maschine, the Hip Hop Beatmaker's Missing Manual, the author of hiphoprally.com. If you want to read this blog article, it's linked in the description. Grab your copy of the book in the description, and also subscribe to this channel for an abundance of great information on Maschine. I'm constantly putting out great new content for free for you as a Maschine producer so you can learn how to improve your craft and improve your sound, all right? So I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.